My mother never told me who my father was until her final breath. My mother, Eleanor, was a fortress. She was my entire world, a single mother who raised me with a fierce, unwavering love. My name is Michael Sterling, now 40, and my life was a beautiful, chaotic blur of her love, her laughter, her unwavering strength. But there was one question, a single, unspoken question, that was always there, a ghost in our lives. Mom, I'd ask, who is my dad? She would just smile, a sad, distant smile, and say, he's not a part of our story, Michael. It's just us. And for 40 years, I accepted that. I accepted that my story was just me and her. My mother never told me who my father was until her final breath. And the truth she told me in her final letter shattered my entire world and my very identity. I was a child of a single mother in a world of two-parent families. It was a normal thing for me. My mom was my hero, my rock, my safe harbor. She was a librarian, a quiet, kind woman who spent her days surrounded by stories and her nights creating one for me. We lived in a small, quiet apartment, a place filled with books, with art, with the smell of her cooking. It was a perfect, happy life. But the question was always there, a low, unsettling hum of confusion in my mind. As a child, I'd ask, Mom, why don't I have a dad like all the other kids? She'd just hold me tight, her love a physical thing, and say, you have me, Michael. You have all the love in the world. As a teenager, the questions became more probing, more demanding. Mom, I need to know, I'd say, my voice a low, angry murmur. I need to know who he is. I need to know where I came from. She'd just look at me, her eyes filled with a profound, unspoken sadness, and say, he's not a part of our story, Michael. It's just us. I was angry. I was hurt. I was a boy who needed a father, a boy who needed to know where he came from. I would lash out. I would scream. I would cry. But she was a fortress. She was unwavering. She would just sit there, a silent, comforting presence, and let me have my anger. My best friend, Tom, 40, who had a perfect, two-parent family, was the one who tried to help me. You need to know, man, he'd say. You have a right to know. But I couldn't. The fortress, my mother, was a fortress of love. I couldn't breach it. I couldn't break her. She was 65 when she was diagnosed with a rare, aggressive form of cancer. A profound, unspeakable tragedy. The woman who had been my rock, my fortress, my entire world, was now a woman consumed by a profound, unending sorrow. The disease was merciless. It ravaged her body, but it couldn't touch her spirit. She was still my mother, still my hero, still my fortress. In her final days, she was at home, in her bed, a peaceful, loving presence in a world that was falling apart. She was surrounded by her family, by her friends, by the people who loved her. She was surrounded by me. My heart was a raw, bleeding mess. The woman who had given me a life was now a woman who was leaving it. One afternoon, as she was sleeping, her best friend, Sarah, 65, came to me. She was a kind, gentle woman who had been with my mom through it all. She held a small, leather-bound box in her hands. Michael, she said, her voice a low, gentle murmur. Your mother wanted you to have this. She told me to give it to you after she was gone. The box was a beautiful, old, weathered thing. Inside, there was a stack of old letters, a small, worn photograph, and a journal. The journal was her handwriting, her voice, her profound, unending sadness. The letters were from a man named Robert, a man she had loved, a man who was a ghost in our life. She was in her final hours. She was weak, her breath a shallow, labored thing. She was surrounded by the people who loved her. She was surrounded by me. I held her hand, my heart a raw, bleeding mess. She looked at me, her eyes filled with a profound, unending love. Her final breath, a whisper, a low, gentle murmur. Michael, she said, I love you, always. And then she was gone. My heart, which had been so full of a profound, unending love, was now filled with a profound, unending sorrow. The woman who had given me a life was now a memory. The fortress, my mother, was gone. After the funeral, after the condolences, after the blur of black suits and whispered prayers, I went home. I opened the box. The first thing I read was the journal. The first few pages were a beautiful, familiar chronicle of her early life, her dreams, her hopes. And then, she wrote about a man named Robert Sterling, a man she had loved, a man she had been in love with. My last name. I frantically went through the journal, my eyes scanning the pages, my heart pounding in my chest. She wrote about their relationship, a beautiful, intense, all-consuming love. A love that was a testament to a life that was beautiful. And then, the tone shifted. He was gone. He had left. He had moved away. He was a ghost in her life. Then, the final entry. A confession. A profound, heartbreaking confession. She was pregnant. With me. And he didn't know. She had never told him. She had chosen to raise me alone, to be a single mother, to be a fortress of love. She had chosen to protect me from a world that would have been a lie, a world where my father was a man who didn't want me, a man who had moved on, a man who was a ghost in her life. I found the stack of old letters. They were from him, a man named Robert Sterling. He was a writer, a travel writer. He had moved away, a ghost in her life. But the letters were full of love, of regret, of a profound, unending sorrow. He had loved her. He had loved her deeply. He had wanted to marry her. He had wanted to have a family with her. But he had chosen his career. He had chosen to see the world. He had chosen to be a ghost in her life. My heart, which had been so full of a profound, unending sorrow, was now filled with a profound, unending rage. A rage at her, a rage at him, a rage at the world. The man who was my father was a ghost, a man who was a part of a love story that was not mine, a man who had moved on, a man who had a new life, a new love, a new family. I looked at the photograph. It was a picture of a young, handsome man, his eyes filled with a profound, unending sadness. My face, my eyes, my smile, he was my father, a man who was a part of me, but a man who was also a ghost. My mother, my hero, my fortress, was a liar. A liar who had kept a secret for 40 years. A secret that had now destroyed my life. The woman who had given me a life, a love, a home, was a woman who had also, in her own way, taken a part of me. I went to Sarah, my mom's best friend. I showed her the journal, the letters, the photograph, the devastating confession. She read it, her face a pale, horrified mask. She had known about the letters. She had known about the man. She had known about the secret. She had kept the secret for her best friend. A secret that had now destroyed my life. Why, Sarah, I said, my voice a low, broken whisper. Why didn't you tell me? She made me promise, Michael, she said, her voice a low, broken murmur. She made me promise I would never tell you. She wanted to protect you. She wanted to protect you from the truth. I was a ghost in my own life. The man who was my father was a ghost, a man who had moved on, a man who had a new life, a new love, a new family. The woman who was my mother, my hero, my fortress, was a liar. And I, the man who had loved her, was a man who was left with a profound, unending sorrow. I hired a private investigator. I found him, Robert Sterling. He was a famous writer. A man with a beautiful wife, a man with 2 beautiful daughters, a man with a beautiful, perfect life. I went to his house. A beautiful, grand house. A house filled with love, with laughter, with a life that was a testament to a life that was beautiful. I went to the door. I was about to knock. I was about to tell him everything. I was about to tell him about the son he never knew he had. I was about to tell him about the woman he had loved. I was about to tell him about the love story that was a ghost in his life. But I couldn't. I couldn't destroy his life. I couldn't shatter his perfect, beautiful world with a truth so dark, so profound, so devastating. I was a ghost in a world that was moving on without me. I went home. The apartment, which had been a museum of a past that had never happened, was now a museum of a lie. The books, the art, the smell of her cooking, all of it was a testament to a woman who had loved me, a woman who had also, in her own way, taken a part of me. I was left with a love that was a lie, a life that was built on a foundation of betrayal and profound, unending sorrow. The woman who was my mother, my hero, my fortress, was a liar. And I, the man who had loved her, was left to live a life she had made possible, a life that was now forever haunted by the memory of a love that was a lie, a love that was a ghost, a love that was a profound, unforgivable betrayal. And sometimes, when I'm alone, I look at the photograph of a young, handsome man, his eyes filled with a profound, unending sadness. And I see a reflection of myself. A man who was a ghost, a man who was a part of a love story that was not his, a man who was a testament to a life that was a beautiful, painful memory, and a life that was a profound, unforgivable reality. And in that moment, I realized that she didn't just save me from a world of lies. She saved me from a world of profound, unending sorrow, and in her final breath, in her final truth, she gave me a choice. To live a life of a ghost, or to find a new beginning. I chose to live. I chose to be happy. I chose to find a new love, a new life, a new beginning. I chose to live for Eleanor. I chose to live for me.